Hello, hello. Welcome everybody tuning into the live stream here. Just joining us. Come on in, come on in. It's 7 o'clock out on the West Coast, which makes it 10 o'clock for those of you on the East. So, we wanted to start things off bright and early this morning. I'm joined as always with Jena Wilson and our guest, Jeff Deckman for the day, who I'm looking forward to introducing you to. And Jena, how are you feeling about the event coming up in June?
Oh my gosh, we're less than 2 months away. I'm so excited. Can't wait seeing people reserve their spots, which is great, but there's still some room left. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, we've got an incredible lineup. I mean, we've been doing this for twice a year since 2015. And I think by far, this is the best group of people already registered, the best speakers. It's a great location. We're excited to be in Nashville, Tennessee.
Yes.
And it's the end of June. Jena, what's the dates?
23rd and 24th.
23rd and 24th. So let's jump into our guest speaker today. I'm excited for everybody to hear from him. If you haven't had a chance to meet Jeff in the past, I think you're in for a really interesting conversation this morning. We jumped on about 5 minutes early and we were just debriefing a little bit of how much has changed in the last couple of years, how it's affecting companies, leaders, leadership development, and company culture. And he's just got a phenomenal perspective and background and expertise in this space. So he's had an opportunity to work with a number of advisors and accountants in our community, as well as business owners. And I think it's an important conversation to be having now more than ever before. Jena, do you want to do a little more formal intro of Jeff's bio, and then we can kind of jump into some questions?
Absolutely. So Jeff Deckman is a consultant, thought leader, and an author on the new leadership mindsets, models, and methods being demanded by the modern economy. He funded 2 multi-million-dollar firms in the tech sector and was a partner in a think tank where he focused on developing new 21st century leadership and business models. He's also recently been contributing to Forbes.com as an author, and I actually have his book right here. Great stuff, Jeff. So looking forward to seeing you in Nashville, which actually where you're joining us from today. What can our attendees expect to hear from you this June?
Well, I am going to do a deep dive into the new mindsets, models, and methods that managers and executives and business owners need to embrace around maximizing human capital. The world has been changing, but it really drastically changed tremendously with the pandemic. And what it's done is it's completely changed the relationship between management and the workforce. Management has always been the empowered part, and the workforce has been responding to that. And now what's happened is the workforce is now the empowered part, and management is trying to respond. So what we're seeing, the way that's showing up is in the Great Resignation, right? There's 11 million jobs open and 6 million people looking for work. Also have the most independent-minded generations literally in the history of humanity in the workforce, and they don't want to be told what to do. So that means the command and control top-down management style is less and less effective, getting to the point where it's becoming a liability. If that's the way you look to run your organization, you're kind of going to run it into the ground, frankly. So the challenge is, because the conditions have changed so drastically in such a short period of time, the challenge is, okay, I'm getting that this other model isn't working the way I would like it to, but what is the new model? And what are the new methods? And what's the new way of thinking? And I've spent literally the last 15 years, I happen to be ahead of that curve. I thought I was crazy looking into all that stuff, and it turned out I was just a bit of a visionary, an accidental visionary, right? So what I'm going to talk about is the new mindset that's needed, new models around leadership, which goes away from command and control top down to communicate, facilitate, and collaborate. That's the new leadership model that needs to be put in place, and methods that will actually allow you to do that without losing control. A lot of managers and leaders think, geez, if I take my foot off the accelerator, or if I let them go, I'm going to get less production. And that's true if you don't prepare the organization for this new shift. However, what I have found time and time again is when you go in and you respect the workforce and you empower them and you engage them into the conversation, you help them contribute. What happens is they begin to get really excited because they feel as though it's their work that they're doing, not work that you're telling them to do. They take pride in it. And then the other really cool thing is they start looking at the other people on their team and they look to hold their team accountable. And that peer pressure, that positive peer pressure actually makes it so you can get more done with less effort in management because they become a self-managing group. And it's just a tribal dynamic. You know, it's in our DNA to want to succeed and to be to take pride in the work that we do and want to do good work. And unfortunately, the old methods just really limit that. These new methods actually take advantage of that desire and put it to work for you. Because if you increase performance, you increase profits. And that's what this is all about.
Love it. Well said. I mean, you just touched on in the first 2 minutes, so many things I would love to do a deep dive on. And the term accidental visionary, I think is a great one too. Let's just talk for a second about the advisors, the accountants watching this right now, watching the recording that we share or attending and seeing you in Nashville. Break it down for anybody that might not see that connection yet. Why is it important for them to understand, even if they don't have employees yet, or maybe a small company, but they are serving business owners? Why is it important for them to understand why to bring this to their clients?
Well, I have first of all, I have a tremendous amount of respect for advisors in that space. They've got a really challenging job. And I also am feeling bad for them right now because what's happening is their clients are looking at them and they see them as the people who can increase profitability, right? So that's the expectation that's been put on them, whether they want it or not, because the owners and the executives are so desperate to get the numbers to be positive, right? So a lot of what advisors do is they focus on process. Let's have more process. Let's have more, procedures and that type of stuff, more efficiencies. And if you just focus on that in this new age, that's industrial age thinking that actually works against you now. What you're really looking at is it's gone from process and efficiency to people and effectiveness. And that, the advisors, they're financial people. They're not organizational design people. And to be able to mobilize the human capital, because human capital makes you your financial capital. It also loses your financial capital. So the profits are a lagging indicator. The leading indicator is the organizational design and the leadership. And it can't just be focused on leadership. A lot of good leadership training going on out there, but that's just one part of the puzzle. Leadership training without organizational design improvement is not going to be effective, because like we talked about before, it's like trying to walk by only moving your left leg. Leadership is, you're training that left leg, but you're not doing anything with the right leg. So the organization is not going to move forward.
Yeah.
So that's really one of the biggest challenges. And what I like to do is I like to go in and speak with the advisors. I really key off the advisors because they know the culture and they know the dynamics and they know where a lot of the problems are. So I come in and I say, look, you can take this piece of what I do and we can work this and integrate my stuff with what they're already doing to increase performance. And I do that by dealing with organizational design, leadership, and culture, finding out where the breakdowns are. How do you improve them? And work together with the advisors as a team to get the process and the people part together, and then and teach as we go, so the management team understands this new way of doing business.
Yeah, you touched on a number of things again that I think are really important. But as you're describing it, I'm thinking about a situation we have right now that we should probably, bring you in on. But this is the exact dynamic that you're describing. If you're only paying attention to one part of the bigger picture, it's an advisor and accountant. They've been working for nearly a year with a business owner to implement a profit sharing plan and some key man policies. And they essentially got to the finish line without including the team. And so the owner does this big presentation and you have 5 key people he's hoping to buy in, and 2 of them were like, where did this come from?
Yep.
Why weren't we included? And now they've hired their own attorneys to review the documents that the owner's attorneys put together. You have one of them threatening to leave. The other one feels like they're being undervalued. And it's just turned into this, 12 months of work for almost nothing. Yeah. And I think what you're touching on there is the advisor could be doing a great job of, bringing the right solution to the table, and maybe they brought in the right attorney, but they didn't approach it from the new mindset of being more inclusive in the team. And as a result, the advisor, the client, everybody's going to lose if this thing doesn't get corrected. So is that kind of what you're describing and seeing more and more?
You've really hit on it. I tell my clients, if you have to get buy-in from important people, you brought them in too late. I'm a big proponent in bringing people into the conversation is going to affect their lives, their jobs, et cetera. And initially, owners, they resist that because, in the early 1900s, management philosophy came out that said only managers should think and the manpower should just work. And that really took hold in the 20s and the 30s. And then, we still see it today. And it's just a ridiculous mindset. So what I find is, and it also increases transparency, what increases trust, increases communications, and increases your ability to find out where the pitfalls might be as you're moving forward. So that way, when you get to a point where you've spent the year putting this thing together, you've worked out all those little nooks and knots and gnats and everything before you get there. And it actually not only results in a better solution, but the leader works less because they don't have to do it all themselves. And the adoption period is like that. And that's one of the biggest things that I work with my clients on is helping them break through that. Look, it's not a bad thing to bring them in. Bring them in. You hold all the cards. You always get this. You have veto power. So why not bring them in and tap into their collective genius to see? You might think, oh, they would love this plan, when in reality, meh. But they'd really love that one. And that one might even be less expensive, easy to implement. So it's servant leadership in a way that goes beyond just platitudes. I want to serve you. I want to work with you. And organizations are organisms. They're an integrated system that works together. Yes, there are layers, but they're fake layers. In actuality, we're tribal creatures. So we do things collectively. We're designed to do that. And that tribal model of human design, of organizational design, is the best one ever created. Because everything comes from that tribal mentality. Our biggest organizations, what it is it's just how they've organized the tribe, right? Hierarchies, silos, et cetera. Industrial age thinking, linear thinking, segmented, silos. Now we're in a network world and a knowledge economy, where collaboration and thinking is everything that drives everything. And the companies that stay here are going to go the way of the dinosaurs. There's still some alligators and turtles walking around and lizards, right, from the reptile, but they are not the dominant force. The mammals, the thinkers, the feelers are a dominant force. Same thing is happening within the business world. Industrial age is dinosaur thinking. It's linear. It's more reptilian mind, as opposed to this new space, which is more emotionally connected. And I'm not talking about safe spaces, and I'm not talking about hugging everybody through the world and making sure, they have crying towels. Come on, we're in business here. But you can really activate this other spot and be amazingly surprised how much you'll get done, how quickly, and how the whole culture of the organization will start to shift. Then as a leader, you go from having to push and manage to you facilitate and guide that energy, because you've shifted the energy flow in the organization. Instead of it coming down to try to get people to then come up, you create the conditions where the people are coming up.
What I love about it as you're describing it is, it sounds like a more enjoyable way to structure an organization, to run a company, to have a team dynamic. And you're so frank and direct with your business focus, saying it's not about kumbaya. It's about, at the end of the day, like better output for everybody. So it's really a win-win structure in a way. It just seems to resonate.
I agree.
brilliant
It's
capitalism.
not kumbaya. It's not kumbaya. It's brilliant capitalism. It's next generation thinking. We are in an age where intellectual capital drives everything. You can't be big and dumb and brutish anymore. You just can't. And I'm sorry in many ways, because it was easier, and I've had to go through this transition. I mean, I'm 65 years old, and I built I started my first company when I was 26. So, I was of that model. And then I got to a point where I said, this isn't working. And then when I spent the time in the think tank, I really delved into that. And in fact, I developed a leadership system that I've written a very brief white paper on. It's a couple of pages. It's called The Bigger No Principles of Conscious Leadership. And what it does is it gives 8 steps that if you learn them and embrace them, it will help you shift from command and control over to this communicate, collaborate, etc. And if you go on my website, jeffreydeckman.com, it's a pop-up. It's called the 8 Actionable Steps. And if it doesn't pop up for some reason, just email me at jeffreydeckman.com. I'll be happy to send it to you. But it really gives you an idea on the mindset on how it has to shift. And it works beautifully. I've built my whole practice around using those principles. And it is a lot more fun. Because, that separation creates competition. It creates winners and losers, more and less. And people don't like that. The people that have more want to keep more. So if someone's coming up, well, they got to watch how they come up. The people that don't have, the people that have less, they want that more. And, in the primitive times, if a culture competed with itself, if a tribe competed with itself, it was obliterated.
Interesting.
And that's what, we're kind of back to the future. I don't know if that's a proper analysis, but we need to embrace those tribal ways and morph them into a modern application. And it's easy because, it's simple, but not easy, because it's so intuitive. I mean, I'm not talking quantum physics here. Nobody's sitting there going, what word did he just use? It's so intuitive. We haven't been trained in it. So when people embrace this mindset and say, okay, I understand the conditions are changed, even though I don't want them to, I have to face that fact. As leaders, we have to face facts. So it's like, okay, that is what is so. Okay, so now what? And the quicker you can get from that is so, the old days are gone, we're in this new place. Okay, so now what? You're going to start making those moves, and organizations that make the move, what they're actually doing, in addition to being more profitable, is they are creating a competitive advantage because their competitors aren't maximizing their human capital to the same way that they are. And maximizing human capital maximizes the customer experience and increases client retention. And you also become a talent magnet. People will leave those other companies to come to work for you. I've seen it. I built it in my companies. It's just, there are certain things that you don't have to make happen. You just create the conditions and they will happen. And the stuff that I'm in and the stuff that I'm talking about is that. And what I do is I specialize in helping people understand the conditions, understand the next steps. I show them the ladder, and then we go one rung at a time. So that everybody understands, and we move together as a group. And, it's like the wolf pack. The wolf pack never outdistances its weakest person or its weakest wolf. And that's why organizations have to be. So it's really an exciting time. Disruption is just filled with opportunities, and the companies that adapt early and well are just going to be the ones that are going to excel the next, 3-5 years, et cetera, and have more fun doing it.
Completely makes sense. I mean, you got me here excited thinking about our company, and I see Jena nodding her head as well. I'm
just giving Anton a couple of absolutely. It makes so much sense. I could talk to Jeff for hours. I mean, I could listen to this all day. Great stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
so
it's exciting, and and it works. I mean, I'm in clients all the time, and and it's so satisfying to me because I go in and I see good people trying to do good work at all levels, and they're knotted up and frustrated, and we just go in and we start working things and moving things, and it's very enjoyable, and it works. And you just see entire organizations heal. They actually heal.
Yeah, we've seen you in some pretty difficult situations with some pretty difficult ownership dynamics that you've come in for advisors and accountants in our community, and you know, just completely turned it around. It's so love the work. Really excited to have you in Nashville. I think if you're watching this either live or in the recording, and you either currently serve the business owner community, really of any size, or you have the ambitions to develop more and more business owner clients, you can't just focus on the tactics. It's of course really important, and we talk a lot about tax reduction strategies, way to reduce risks, way to reduce expenses for business owners. Those are things that every business owner's focused on and excited about. But I think, Jeff, what you're saying is if you don't get some of these core things right, you're essentially the dinosaur that's just on the way to extinction. You might be able to grind it out, but it's just so much better to evolve and get kind of ahead of the game and use it as a competitive advantage.
Well, you know, I've worked with a lot of clients who had great advisors, and they put these processes in place that are proven processes, but they don't get the outcome. And the client blames the advisor when it's not the advisor, it's the processes. You know, communication, collaboration, and facilitation is the lubrication that keeps the organization working. So without, you can have the best processes, but if you're not doing those other three things, the gears are going to grind, or they're going to get stuck, and they're going to snap. And so the stuff that I do actually comes in and enhances the advisor's ability to be as effective as they could be if the client just kind of get out of their way or help them a bit more. So I am a facilitator at every level. I facilitate with the owners, and I facilitate the advisors. And I've had some advisors that come to me and say, look, can you go in and can you untie that knot? Because I'm trying to get them to see it this way. They're not getting it. It's important. It's going to affect their profitability. And then I can go in and do that. So I look to be in service of the advisors and the client.
Well, we appreciate it. We appreciate, all the expertise you bring to our virtual family office. We appreciate all the work you're doing, and excited to see you in Nashville in a couple months.
Yeah, I'm excited too. I've done a lot of conferences, and the one that, I did the one in San Diego with you guys. It was the first time, and it was filled with energy. Everybody in that room was on the top of their game. Mm-hmm. So just the networking, let alone the content and the level of deliverables that I saw you guys giving was just, A+ across the board. I would suggest anybody who's thinking about going, quit thinking, just pull the trigger, spend 2 days. Worst case, you're in Nashville for 2 days, right?
Right.
Right. There's worse places to be.
Right.
But just do it. Just do it. It'll really improve your business significantly. It's the right thing to do.
Thanks. We appreciate it. Yep.
That.
Said it great.
Okay.
Jenna, we should wrap. What do you think?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, like I said, could talk to Jeff all day, but if you don't want to be a dinosaur, and if you want to take Jeff's advice, go to elitegrowthacademy.com. Again, it's June 23rd and 24th. We definitely still have some seats available, so register today.
Very good. Thank you again so much, Jeff. We appreciate your time.
Jeff, appreciate it.
Right.
Thanks everyone for being on with us. Have a wonderful day. See you in Nashville.
Yes.
See you in
See
Nashville. See ya.